Hey kids, welcome to Unit 5, Lesson 8, Modifying Images, exercise number 3. Today we're going to be making a grayscale image. Let's take a look at our directions. We're going to import the image plus from here. After that, we're going to write the method makeGrayscale by implementing the algorithm we developed on the Grayscale Images activity guide we're about to do. Then we're going to instantiate a grayscale image object with an image in the asset manager, then draw the image in the scene without any filters. You can also upload and use your own. Add a pause after drawing the image. After that, we're going to call the makeGrayscale method on your image, then draw the image with the filter in the scene. Then we're going to save our grayscale image to the backpack. Well, that doesn't sound too bad. First, let's get our image plus. You can open it up. Copy all this code. Copy it. Go back. New file. This is going to be called image plus. Create. And then we're going to paste in. Everything's there. Let's take a look at our code before we head over to our worksheet. Image plus is utilizing our getPixels method, which is creating a 2D array of our image with RGB values at every X or Y or pixel coordinate. This lets us manipulate the RGB values and create different filters. And this is the code we've used a couple of times. This creates a 2D array to store the pixels. This was our 0 red method we did in lesson 7, 0 blue method, and 0 green method. And then we have the keep blue method, which just zeroed out the red and green. In image grayscale, we don't have too much, but a place to write our method. And then in my theater, we're just instantiating our scene, and we have to do a bunch of work down here. Let's head over to our worksheet and see what we have to do. We have our worksheet, and the most important part is this second page. We have some hints to help us write our grayscale method. What if the red, green, and blue values for each pixel are all the same? We will get a grayscale effect. And I think this is a pretty big hint. So what we have to do is we have to go through and we have to set each pixel to a gray color, which we learned 0 is black, white is 255. 125 would give us gray. But if we just set every pixel to 125, we're going to get just a gray box. That isn't going to be very interesting to look at all. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to store each of those values, and then we're going to have to get some sort of average. And then the average of those values we can print off. So not everything's going to be 125. Finally, we have to set those RGB values of the pixel to the average. What's that going to look like? First, we have to get the pixels from the 2D array. And that's from the image object. After that, I know we have to loop through each row and then loop through each column. Let's give us a little indentation there and then after that, we have to create our temporary pixel. And remember, that's when we have to switch our X and Y coordinates. So we have to do our pixel temp, and that's going to equal the current pixel. After that, first we have to store the amount of red from temp. Then we have to store the amount of green from temp. Then we have to store the amount of blue from temp. That's getting our values. And again, we just can't set everything to 125 because that would just give us a gray blob. So we have to find and store the average of those values. So we're just going to add them up and divide them by what we have. Then finally, we have to set the RGB values of the pixel. Spell that right there, to the average. And I think this is going to be my pseudocode to help me write my method. Let's see if we can't translate this into some usable code. Let's head back to code.org. Back here, we have to go to grayscale. We're going to work on writing our grayscale method. We have to write it under our make grayscale. And our pseudocode should pop up here. Let's translate that into some regular code. We want from the pixel class, we want a 2D array. We'll call it pixels. And that is going to be equal to our getPixels method. Let's clean that up so it looks just a little better. That creates our array to hold our pixels. Now we have to loop through, so we need an outer loop for curly cues. This is going to be our out loop, and int row equal 0 as long as row is less than what array we're looking through. We're looking through our pixels array from above. So we're going to go through the length of that. And as long as we haven't reached the end, we're going to keep progressing through. That's our outer. Let's do our inner. This is our inner for. Keep a consistent loop. And this is going to be our column. So int col equals 0 as long as our column is less than our pixels array, but we want to go through the row. So we're going to tell it row 0, and we want to go through the length of that. And as long as we're underneath that, we're going to go through the column. Now that we're looping through, we have to store which pixel we're at. So we need another 2D array. This is going to be from the pixel class. We'll call this current pixel. And that'll be equal to whatever pixels we're at the row and column. So put row and column. Now that we know what pixel we're at, we need to get that red, green, and blue. Let's make some temporary variables to store those values. Int current red is going to be equal to the current pixel. And we're going to call the red method. So we just want to know what the red color is at that specific pixel. We're going to rinse and repeat. We're going to do int current green is going to be equal to the current pixel. And we're going to call the getGreen method to find the value. Red, green, blue, one more. Int current blue is going to equal current pixel at the getBlue method. Well, we got those three. How do you get an average? You just add them up and divide them by how many you have. Let's give ourselves a little room to see. That means we're going to go int, and we can just call this average of value. Well, that's going to be equal to our current red plus our current green plus our current blue. And then we're just going to divide those by 3. Well, that's how we get an average, right? Let's make sure we have some spelling right here. Current red, current green, current blue. Current pixel looks pretty good. Now that we got that average for that pixel, we're going to set the red, green, blue to that average we just created. That means we need the current pixel. This time we're just going to call our setRed method, and we are just going to call this average value that we just created. So red is going to be whatever that average of those 3 pixels are. Next, we're going to get our current pixel. And we're going to do our set green method. And again, we're going to get this average value. I should copy this because I know I'm going to spell it wrong. And then finally, we're going to go current pixel set blue, and we're going to set that to the average value. Check our spelling again, make sure it looks pretty good. Looks like I haven't missed probably missed a semicolon there, and that's actually a method, so we need a parentheses. The rest of this looks pretty good. So what we're doing is we're looping through our image array here, and at each X and Y coordinate or pixel, we're getting the current red and green and blue color. We're adding those together, dividing it by 3. Then we're setting the pixel to that new average. That should average us to our 125-ish color. Some a little lighter, some a little darker. Let's just clean up our code before we finish. Should end up with 4 curly cues. We do. This is our end of class. All right, we have our My Theater to finish up. Let's head over there. Let's figure out what image we want to use. I like the game's JPEG. Well, let's grayscale that. First thing we need to do is instantiate our object and get that image. We are going from the grayscale image class, and we'll just call this my image. It's going to equal a new grayscale image, and we want to pass along the game's JPEG we just created. No spaces, has to be exact there. Well, that's getting our image. Now we have to draw that image. So let's go my scene, draw image. And from there, we need to get the my image we just created from above. We'll set it 0, 0 in the X and Y. And then the width, we will do my scene, and we'll use the get width method to make sure it is big enough. That should draw our image. Let's hit run, see if we have any spelling errors before we call our make grayscale method. Well, looks like we have an error here. We have a spelling error there. Let's clear our console, stop run. We have our image to pop up. Let's pause. So we'll go my scene dot pause, and we'll do that for 1 second. Now we'll run our grayscale method. We have to do it right here. So we'll go my image, and we'll do make grayscale. And it's spelled right. My image looks like it's spelled right. And then we have to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this, Control C, Control V, and we're going to draw the image again. So I should get my image to pop up. We'll wait a second, and then it should turn gray. Well, let's see if we're right, kids. And it does. Looks like our code works pretty good. Key takeaway from this lesson is understanding how we can use 2D arrays to create filters. In the last couple of lessons, we've set the red, green, and blue to 0. That's given us different effects. This time, we got the average of the colors and set the pixel to that. And we've learned 0 being black, white being 255, the middle should give us a gray. So we added up to 3 colors, divided it by 3. Those averages give us a gray image. And by manipulating the red, green, and blue values, we can get these different filters. And this is really the overarching premise to this unit. Hopefully this video helped you understand how to modify images a little better. As always, kids, if you have any questions, come see me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. See you later, kids. Bye.